Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Vulnerability Time. I am your host, Josias Abriel. We are back for season 6. Oh, it's been a while, everyone. I'll just jump right into it. So for today, we have special guest, Rosa. Rosa, before I ask you to share a little bit about yourself. Folks, what we will be talking about today is Rosa's mental health journey, fighting battles in silence, and triumph from tragedy. Yes. Okay, so welcome, Rosa. Oh my gosh, how are you? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm doing good. It's been a good day. A little bit about myself, huh? $1 million question. My name is Rosa Escalante, as Josias was mentioning. I am a social worker by training, mental health and disabilities advocate, and I'm still and currently a doctoral student who's struggling.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god. PhD school. Us in PhD school. Remember, you were like one of your friends calls it graduate school, and I love it because I was like, you were like, no, it's PhD school. I was like, yes, there is a difference. There is a difference with this workload. There's a difference.
I say yes.
There's a difference. So I call
Yes,
it
and
PhD school
and
too.
I do this on a very silly thing, but it's just I was like,
Hmm.
this is PhD in school, okay? This is tough, you guys.
So your major. Tell us your major and why that major that you're PhD schooling in.
um, I'm currently a doctoral student going into I'm in my second year, almost finishing my second year, and I'm doing my PhD in interdisciplinary health sciences from the College of Health Science at Utah. Why interdisciplinary? I thought it was the perfect way to merge both of my previous disciplines, my previous fields. So I have a bachelor's in health promotion with a minor in community health. But then I did, instead of continuing down the line of public health, I decided to take a turn and go and get my master's in social work. So for me, doing an interdisciplinary PhD will be the perfect way to merge both of my disciplines together, what I've learned in both of my fields, with still working with other people of on their fields.
Yes, thank you, Rosa. Yes, everyone, I had to pause the recording and then we're jumping right back into it. You know, we love a little technical difficulties. Okay, so thanks for sharing that, Rosa. Now, I think we're just going to jump straight into the topics that we're talking about today, which is just to reiterate my mental health journey, fighting the battles in silence. Not my mental health journey, but my, as in Rosa's mental health journey, and triumph from tragedy. Rosa, why, you know what, let me say it with the R's. Rosa, why those topics? Tell us what, yes. What's your story with those
As
topics?
because that's a tough one, but as I was mentioning, um, I try to become a mental health advocate to my community. I'm a Hispanic and Latina woman, so I've always tried to bring awareness and education and destigmatize mental health.
Yeah,
And as somebody who struggles with it and has had to learn to navigate it and
right.
has had to break that cycle in my family of just having to talk about it and that it's okay for me to talk about it and I shouldn't be ashamed of my own struggles.
Yes.
I felt like sometimes because it happens to me, I need to see myself represented. So it comes from somebody, it comes from people that I saw talking about it and normalize it and not making you feel bad or guilty about it or struggling with it. That I say, like, I wish that in the future I can be that for somebody else, and if I can normalize it within
Yes.
myself, within my family, then I hope that more conversations start happening and less guilt and less stigma will be around mental health.
Yes. And I like that you mentioned it because I'm Hispanic as well. And we know that, within our culture, mental health is stigmatized, and so I love that you're stressing the importance of talking about it, being that safe space for others and for ourselves, and maybe like, by someone hearing us talk about it, they'll talk about it as well. It's important to be able to like see someone talk about it so that we can feel like, hey, guess what? It's okay to talk about it. Mental health is very important, and us not talking about it isn't helping. It's not helping. Um,
It's that it's
yeah. So
like
the
the struggle is still gonna be there.
yeah, yeah. When it comes to fighting battles in silence and the triumph to tragedy, um, what's your story with that?
When and it's a very long, lengthy, which will be very intertwined with all my mental health journey.
Yes.
Um, I've always been somebody that struggles with anxiety my entire life. But being raised, we are in the US Mexico border between Ciudad Juarez and El Paso. And I was raised most of my time in Ciudad Juarez. Ciudad Juarez, which is on the Mexican side, which is, I knew I struggled with anxiety, but because in my Hispanic side, my Mexican side, mental health is not very talked about, I and I hate this word, but I used to say there's something wrong with me. Like something is happening that it's
Right.
wrong with me, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what's the name for that. I don't know how do I put a name to that? What's the name for this? What is happening to me since I was very little? Um, it's sad to say that it took me until I was in college in my undergrad to be in a class sitting down and be learning about mental health from one of my first mentors in my academics, and she being very passionate about mental health, like teaching you about symptoms of mental health,
Right.
right, and how
Right.
it presents. And it was, for me, it was almost like a checkbox. I was like, oh, I struggle with that, that happens to me, I feel that. And it wasn't until I was almost 19, 20 years old that I was able to put a name to what I was struggling with. And that is so sad to say it, but it's so true. And I know I'm not the only one that happens that. But when up to a point, I have been handling my anxiety the best that I could to my capacities. But my story of battling fights in silence and from tragedy, this starts in 2020. I have to go back to 2020. 2020 was a bad year for a lot of
A
us.
lot of us.
Mine just
Yeah.
started a month, like mine just started a little bit early before we went into lockdown before for COVID. I was in a car accident in the last day of January of 2020,
Yeah.
and as a result, I have four hernias throughout my back.
Yeah.
Um, those four hernias, three on located on my lower back, were gonna create an issue a year from there. So 2021, around, despite of my doctor saying I wouldn't have an issue, I was gonna be fine, there were very little, you were not gonna be in pain. That was not my situation. Um, I believe it was October of 2021 when during one of the weekends I was getting ready to go out of my day. I was getting dressed and I felt one of my legs being pulled. And this happened at 9 in the morning. By 5 p.m. that day, I couldn't walk anymore. So not even 24 hours later, I couldn't walk anymore. So besides the fact of being extremely in pain, I was crying. Um, that we weren't sure what was happening. We were struggling to find services within the US. I'm very lucky and blessed that I live in the border. So, and I have parents that when I couldn't advocate for myself, they advocated for me.
Yes.
Um,
Nice, nice.
so they say, let's say, that's it. Like, we're not going to keep sitting down and wait until somebody here in the US sees us. We're going to where we know. Let's go back to Mexico
Right.
because you cannot be like this. And even at that, it took months for us to find answers and solutions and something that make them and make me feel comfortable. But I always say that that's when my hell started.
Yeah.
It started in 2020, but my hell started in 2021 because I went 3 months without being able to walk.
Yeah.
So that creates a toll. I was a very independent person. I used to be working full time. I used to go to school full time. I was doing my master's. I was halfway through my master's program. I was a very independent person because that's how I was raised. I'm an only child. I'm a
Right.
Latina woman, so I have a lot of things against me. So
Right.
you have to be as independent as you can,
Right.
as strong, as resilient, and as you push down every emotion and everything that you feel, and you keep it pushing because
Mm-hmm.
that's just how we roll.
Right. Right.
And when that happened to me, I it sounds going to sound very dramatic, but I lost everything. I
Right.
lost everything.
Right.
I lost my independence. I lost my health. I lost the capacity of doing stuff on my own. I will always tell my mom that she had a baby again. It's like, but this time she was 25 years old. This baby had 25 years old, which she didn't sign up for this at all. Um, so I had to lose a lot of the things that I love to do. I loved my job back
Right.
then. I was working in a nonprofit organization that helped um, develop prevention, intervention, treatment, and recovery services
Yes.
for
Important.
substance use disorder and opioid use disorder.
Mm. Mm.
So, especially we my focus was more on rural communities from Texas. So I love my rural areas and I love my rural communities.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had to sacrifice my job, and my parents, we got to a point that my parents said, like, either you stay in school and pursue and finish your masters, or you stay at work, because this is taking a toll on your health trying to do both, and one of them has to go. My doctors, one of the first doctors that I saw, he was like, your back ended up giving up on you because of the amount of stress that you were putting into it. Like, this is all stress. Like, I cannot tell you that this was not going to happen eventually, but for sure the amount of stress that you were into did
Uh
not
huh.
help at all.
Right.
So I ended up resigning my job, and I say, let me stay on my master's program, which I can tell you that that was the best decision that I could have made in my entire life.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and I'll do my own fair disclaimer that I am a very sensitive person and I might cry because that's just how I am.
Vulnerability time. We
um,
cry. We cry on this podcast. That's right.
uh, so my mentor will say that it doesn't take much to make me cry, which is true. I own it, and I'm a very sensitive person. I'm a very empathic person, which is a good and a bad thing in the field that I chose to be. Um, Feeling people's pain is hard.
Rosa, I know you don't know this. I don't think you know this, but my master's was originally in social work, but I switched to criminal justice again because I couldn't. Compassion fatigue, the passion turned into pain. Um, yeah, so but I love social work. I love it, but oh my gosh, I couldn't at that time in my life. So I thought that was really cool hearing you say that social work major, and
It's
me and
so
you were both empaths, and we're both sensitive. Yeah. So.
it's extremely hard. I know you feel you. I know you get me because it's hard hearing people's stories when you're working with them, right?
Right.
And seeing in so many different instances how families fail them, system fails them, and there's a lack of resources, community, and there's a misconception around them and misinformation and stigma regarding multiple topics around what a
Right.
person is struggling with.
Mm.
And being on the side of the provider as a social worker or as a client, as a healthcare professional, it's like infuriating a lot of the times. It's like you're seeing that this person is in need and you're not willing to do anything. Like you're kidding me, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
it's and it's exhausting. It's draining for anybody. I know that in our fields, it's one of the things that we experience a lot. We have a lot of burnout because it's a lot of the time it feels like we're having this fight alone against a huge system that it's in place.
Yeah.
That when we're gonna keep on advocating and fighting, but a lot of the time feels like this is not gonna get better.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is not gonna get better.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I yeah, and coming back because I can deviate forever in conversations. I can get sidetracked a lot. But um, when when I was going through my period of 3 months without being able to walk, I my anxiety went through the roof. Like it was bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I never realized how anxiety was gonna bring a new friend with it, which was depression. And battling anxiety and depression at the same time, it's tough. It's
Tough.
like being anxious and wanting to do things, but not having the energy to do them. But but you know that you have to do something. But what about if we don't do it right now? But what for? If this is not getting better? Um, besides the point that my health was very bad and very compromised. Um, on a good day, I always say this, and it goes back also to the fact of the importance of sleep. But on a good day, for 3 months, I will have 4 hours of sleep at night.
Yeah.
In a bad day, I will sleep probably like one or two because I was in extreme pain. My was killing me. Whenever I tried to lay down and go to sleep at night, used to feel people like somebody was trying to pull my legs out, like that somebody was pulling them out. So my back was killing me. It was extreme full of pain. I used if I move us like even a little, even a centimeter from when I have fine comfort, like it will throw my entire I was just getting shooting pains throughout my back.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to wake up in the middle of the night begging my parents to just cut off my legs
Yeah.
because that was gonna make it better. In my
Right.
head, I was like, just cut them off.
Yeah.
If that's gonna make the pain go away, I'll do anything at this point to make it go away.
Right.
Um, but I used to pour my parents because they experienced it on the other side on getting like the caregiver burnout, right? Like they were my caregivers
Right.
and they had to do everything for me from cooking to help me shower to help me take to my daughter's appointments to help me go to school. Um, um, but I will fall asleep at night crying.
Yeah.
So I didn't sleep. My parents didn't sleep. My mom had to wake up the next like early in the morning to go to work and she will be exhausted and she will be anxious about leaving me alone for the next 8 hours while she go to work. And my dad will call me in between because his job was more flexible. But then my dad was stuck across the border because this is 2021, you guys. This is
Yeah.
COVID time
Yeah.
still. So the border was closed. My dad was in Ciudad Juarez because my grandparents were there. And my grandparents were over the age of 84, 83 at that time. So my dad was like, I have to stay on this side of the border because what if they need me? They're older, they need help, they need somebody to take groceries for them. So he couldn't cross. Um, and for 3 months, it was hell. So I remember, like, I knew at one time my mom would leave my house, and I would just start crying.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe this is me. Like, can I just be to my, like, can I go back to my old self? Can I just be myself from 1 year ago?
Mm-hmm.
When is this gonna be over? I will sit in front of the mirror
Mm-hmm.
in my wheelchair,
Yeah.
and I will say, like, this is just a dream. I'm just dreaming.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Rosa, this is like, you need to wake up. Like, this is getting ridiculous. Like, you need to wake up because this is a horrible dream. Can we just make it stop? And of course, the dream was not it was not a dream. It was very much my reality. But
Right.
I was I was not I was very fortunate in a way that I was one of the COVID cohorts when
Yeah.
I started my master's program. So a lot of my classes were very my professors even at that point were offering it. um if you wanted to go in person to the class, they will have that option. But then the professor will log in on Zoom and have you on Zoom as well. That's how I probably finished through my master's program. I always say that if I were to start my master's program right now, I think I probably would have had to drop it. I'm lucky enough that I pushed myself for the first year and a half to be a full-time student, even though I could have been easily a part-timer. That's what really helped me, like, finish my master's program. Besides the point of my department, like the support of my department, their understanding, their caring. Like, if there's something I can say about my department, the Department of Social Work at UTEP, is that they're very empathetic,
Yes.
caring faculty. We
Yes.
have such, and it could be the fact that they're social workers, all of them, that
I
they
was.
come from social work backgrounds, but um, they were so willing to work with me, and that's something that I'm always going to be grateful, because they're a big part of the reason that I was able to complete my degree. My internships, like, I was very fortunate to find internships that worked with me remotely, and I did my work from my home because I couldn't drive to my internship. I couldn't do anything on my own. But during those 3 months, again, when I was battling my anxiety and depression came in, I I started having a lot of suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
And I say, I don't want to be here.
Right.
If the
Right.
pain is if this pain is never gonna go away, I
Right.
don't want to be like this, and I don't want to live like this.
Right.
This is too hard. This is clearly not getting better.
Right.
And recently, I told, but back then, I had mm, my coordinator from the department, which now it's only she has transitioned to a new position. She's now only teaching, but she was my coordinator back then, and my professor from the department. There was some miscommunication between. Apparently, there's somebody else who had a very similar name that I did from the Department of Social Work. But this is when I was at my lowest. But this time, it was probably towards the end of November, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm like, this is not gonna work, you guys. I'm done. I I had a plan. I knew what day I was gonna
Yeah.
go through with it because I was done. I'm
Yeah.
tired. I'm exhausted. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And she called me. I think probably like a few days before. She called me because there was a miscommunication between somebody else that said like she was dropping out of the program. But because we have similar names, they thought I was dropping out of the program. And I'm very lucky that her and I we would have this close communication.
Mm-hmm.
So she called me very upset, saying, I thought that if you were gonna drop out of the program, you would talk to me first. Like, I'm hurt. They say, what is happening? What are you talking about? I mean, unless you are kicking me out of the program, then I haven't dropped out of it. And I say, but I do want to ask for an incomplete in my classes. I think unconsciously it was one of my preparations. I wanted to ask if I didn't completed my classes. And she's like, why? Because I don't think I'm learning what I'm supposed to. I don't think I'm delivering the type of materials and assignments that I'm supposed to. And I just can't. I can't do this anymore. I mean, I like to me it was hell sitting through a 3 hour class. It was a mix of emotions because I wanted to be there. And that was my happy place for three
Wow.
hours. Because I can think of something else but my struggles, my health issues. But at the same time, I was just physically draining and painful. And what ended up happening is that I will always remember what she said. She was like, Rosa, I just need you to hold on a little bit longer. Just
Yes.
hold on a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few more weeks, Rosa,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna be able to rest. The semester will be over. You're almost there. You're getting close to the end of the semester. Like just hold on. I just need you to hold on a little bit longer. I promise it's gonna get better.
Mm-hmm.
And given that this professor knew nothing about my struggles, nothing, but she's the professor that she used to call me every other week and say like, what do you need? Like, do you have a job? Do you have food? What can I get for you? um I will always say that I was stopped seen by my department as just a number more in the roster. I was just not just a student, I was a human being.
Yes.
I was a person that needed help. And all of them, every single person in my department was like, what does she need? How can we help her? Like, they knew I was working full time and I had quit my job. So then their concern was like, do you have food? Do you have a job? Can you can do you want us to look something for you? Do you need anything? And I'm always gonna be grateful for that. But she I recently told her because she didn't knew about this until probably 2 3 years later. I say you don't realize how much you saved my life. You saved my
Yes.
life. It's like it is as dramatic as I'm saying because you saved my life. That comment, the fact of you asking me to hold on, like actually made me stay here and wanted to fight. And she was like,
Wow.
I never realized that you were struggling that much and that my words were gonna have that much of an impact in you. I said, well, they did. They sure did. You're one of the reasons that I'm still here, that I kept on fighting when I really was very tired. And why, in a big part, I'm still here. And all of this happening around me, graduation, getting into a PhD program, keep on like working and doing all this stuff, trying to advocate for people who struggle like me. Um, and we know sometimes we forget how much our words are gonna impact somebody.
Right.
Like we tend to sometimes don't say a lot of the stuff that we're feeling because we're afraid, but we don't know if whatever sentence that we're gonna tell somebody is gonna change completely their day, is gonna
Yeah.
rescue them. And we never do it with that intention, maybe. But I think one of the things that we need to remind us as people and as human beings is that words matter, whatever it's good or bad. Whatever, if I always say, I'm like, if you don't have anything good to say, it's better if you don't say anything. Don't tell me anything then. Because if you said something with a negative intention, you don't know what it could leave that person that is receiving it on the other side. So I'm a faithful believer that words matter.
Yeah.
Whatever we said is going to create an impact on the other person. Yeah. That's where. But during my those 3 months, I was battling my anxiety and my depression on my own. I was on my own. Like I knew when my mom left my house and my house was alone completely, and I would just start crying. And I knew at what time of the day I needed to stop, so I could clean my tears and put on a strong face and keep it pushing because she was gonna come home. Um, and I battle a lot of my suicidal ideation on my own because
Yeah.
she didn't knew my dad for sure didn't knew. I had
Mm-hmm.
it way better from my dad. Um, Now years pass by. Now I talk to my mom and she's like, that was one of my biggest fears, that I was gonna come home and you were gonna be dead, that you have actually done something to take your life. And but I didn't, and to me it was so interesting that I will hear that later and I say, well, why never talk to me about it?
Right. Right.
Well, my fear was that if you weren't thinking about it and I brought it up, then now it's going to be an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clearly a misconception that we have when it comes to suicide
Uh-huh.
ideation and suicide attempts, or just the planning. Like if we talked about some with somebody who's struggling with that and we bring suicide to their talk to the topic of the conversation, they're gonna go through with it. No, that's actually not how it works.
It's
Actually,
actually quite the
I'm like, that's
opposite.
actually no. Um, Actually, quite the opposite because it makes us think about it, right?
Right. Right.
We start thinking about it and say like, wow, like wait, that's right. When you go to every training, when they tell you, I'm like, if somebody voices this, then ask them like, is there a plan? Do you have an
Right.
intention to commit it? Like, and it makes people like take a second back and say like, wait, do I have a plan? Is this something that I really want? Like this person is interested in what I'm going through. So if they're feeling alone and they think that they don't matter to people,
Right. Right.
there's somebody clearly showing that they care about you, that they love you, and
Right.
they're willing to be there for you. So it's like it makes us think back on like, wait, I am loved. I am
Yes.
cared. There's people that need me here. Um, so it's one of the many misconceptions that we hear when it comes to mental health. Um, I always see and I always say that my story is it's a Trump case because it's
It's a what
nobody thought that I
case?
was gonna make it. No,
Say that again. You said it's a what case? It cut out.
it's a Trump day. Like it's a success story,
Uh
right?
huh.
It's something that we have succeed because I was able to find it's interesting and fascinating how much things work faster when they have to. Um, I I had man, it was hard. I remember crying with my faculties and with my professor, with my practicum coordinator, and I say, Professor, I'm like, you teach us about advocacy and advocating for our clients in class. And man, you're seeing me here and I can advocate for myself. Like I'm over here struggling with my health and I cannot advocate for myself. Like, what the hell? Like, I'm supposed to know about this, right? I'm training to
Mm-hmm.
be a social worker and I cannot advocate for myself. And I'm always going to remember what she said. She's like, you're just a human being, Rosa. You're just a human being. The fact that you are struggling to advocating for yourself, it doesn't make you a bad social worker. I say, because I think I'm in the wrong field. I'm like, if I cannot advocate for myself, then I'm in the wrong field. I mean, I'm choosing the wrong career.
Mm.
And she said, no, no, you're not. You're just a human being. And when you cannot advocate for yourself, you have a whole team around you that are willing to advocate for yourself. There's times that you are in the passenger seat, and it's okay for you to let somebody else drive. That's fine. That doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't make you a bad healthcare professional,
Right.
bad social worker. That just makes you human. We don't have to be perfect all the time. And
Right.
I was very lucky and blessed enough that we somebody recommended us in Juarez a neurologist because that's what we thought we needed for my back because my health got bad. My weekends or my and sometimes even during the week I will spend my days in the hospital in emergency rooms back to back to back to back. because I was struggling to walk, because my my I was in pain, like I was having other symptoms. Was a little bit on December when I went and met this neurologist and he saw all my scans and everything. He's like, yeah, this needed to be fixed 3 months ago. This would have needed surgery like right away. Like this has a solution. And it's not gonna be medication, it's not gonna be procedures in your back or therapy or anything. I'm like, this needs surgery. And it's like it was needed like yesterday. But this is out of my control. This is not something that I do. This is has to be done by an orthopedic doctor. So within the same hospital, he's like, and this needs to happen like now. He make my parents and I stand up and get out and literally take us to the orthopedic doctor. And this was late on the day. Like he was like the doctor was about to leave and he had to almost beg him like you need to see this girl. Like she's bad. And
Mm-hmm.
when I tell you that I sit down across from this doctor and he saw everything and he explained everything to me. This
Yeah.
is happening because of this. This is what your core is being pressure. And I always used to believe that I was paralyzed from my waist below. And that's where my struggle was. After a lot of talk with the doctor, he was like, girl, you think you're paralyzed from the waist below? No, ma'am. You're paralyzed probably from like up, like from your chest below. Like you're very close. If more time passed by and you hadn't find a doctor and you hadn't gone to a doctor,
Right.
you could have become paraplegic. Like it's that serious.
Mm.
Like it is that bad. And to my parents and I, we were like shocked. We were like, oh, we did not think this through because you hear everything. You hear everything when you're struggling. Everybody wants to take advantage when you're in the struggle side. When you have so many uncertainty and there's so many doubts and questions, I hear everything. I hear like, well, maybe if you lose weight, you'll walk again. Well, maybe if you do this therapy, you'll do walk again. Maybe if you take this medication, you'll walk again. Like I heard everything during those 3 months. My parents did everything, and I'm always gonna be beyond blessed and thankful because they did everything. And I'm very lucky that I have a family.
Yeah.
I have my parents, but I also have my extended family. I have my grandmother, I have my
Yeah.
uncles, I have my cousins who they're like, how's she doing? And what does she need? And my grandma was like, I just want my granddaughter to walk again. This should be happening to me, not to my granddaughter. Like she's so young and my grandma, when she will hear me crying on the phone, she will start like praying, like a grandma, like a very Mexican Hispanic grandma. Like she will start praying on the phone because she will pain.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'm always going to be grateful. But I acknowledge and I recognize the privilege that I had, right? That my family could afford medical treatments in Mexico. Um, because it makes you think on, wow, like there was not a single thing or a single medication that I didn't need that my parents wouldn't look for, that my parents didn't buy it for me. And it makes you think on the other side of the people that are struggling with similar health conditions that you are going through but cannot afford treatment. It's so disheartening and it's so sad. Um, I was able to get surgery, I think the second or third week of December. And from there, it's been an uphill battle. It's been fighting. It's been I wish I can tell you that I'm back of being my old self, but I'm not. And at this point,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm never gonna be able to be back to be the girl that I was in 2019 before any of this happened. I
Right. Right.
wish sometimes it's like I wish and I'm okay with where I am. It's exhausting because now I know I struggle with with a disability. I don't ask me to go into a marathon because I won't be able to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now I now also I try to become a mental health advocate, but I also try to become an advocate for people with disabilities
Yes.
because I now I teach when it comes to disabilities. If I go to the other side, there's still so many misconceptions. There's still so many stigma around people with disabilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, when I used to go out during those 3 months, and I used to go out in my wheelchair or with my walker, most of the time in my wheelchair, like people looked at you like you have something that is contagious, and that is so sad. It's so bad to say it, but it's so true. Like I'm always gonna remember how there was a mom in a shopping store that probably the kid was less than 4 years old. And the kid probably found very interesting that I was in a wheelchair because maybe he had never seen it before.
Right.
So it
Right.
caught his attention. And mom, instead of letting him look at me and letting him touch my wheelchair, just touch it, she pulled him away like
Right.
I had something contagious.
Right.
And people stare at you, people looked at you, people feel pity for you. And I always tell everybody, I'm like, if you say hi to me and you shake my hand, you don't get a disability. You don't get a wheelchair. You don't get a cane.
Right.
Like what I have, it's not contagious.
Right. Right.
And we still fight a lot with that misconception out in the community.
Yeah.
Um, but now having to navigate a whole system on people want to see you. People always want to see me backing up like I was before. Like, don't use your cane, don't use your walker, don't. Now I have an AFO in my leg, and I use a little brace in my leg to give me a little bit of more support so I can walk for a longer distance. But
Yeah.
still, it's hard,
Yeah.
and people, it's so because it doesn't belong to your body. It's exhausting and it's tiring. It's uncomfortable. But I know and I recognize that I needed to do my day to day activities better with less energy, without spending or misusing a lot of energy. But it's hard. Still navigating. Um, I get tired probably faster than a normal person just walking to the corner of my street. Like for me to walk, even if it's a short distance, it takes a lot of my energy. You're gonna see me hyperventilating myself, sweating, and I. This is where my anxiety kicks in because I am an overthinker, so I overthink everything. If I have to go to a place,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do my research before I have to walk it.
Yeah.
Like I want to know how the sidewalk is gonna look. I know what route do I need to take, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the times it's exhausting. It's tiring. It's exhausting. It's. Uh, I was talking about this in one of my other classes, but it's so exhausting to see other people that they don't have to struggle to get to their classrooms like I do, even in school. Because you and I know
Yeah.
UTEP. UTEP is in the mountain. That is
Yes.
that university. I'm sorry and excuse me, but UTEP is not ADA accessible.
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
they are trying, they are attempting, they keep on pushing, but UTEP it's not accessible.
Right.
So it's so hard. And when you see these obstacles, I used to have go to a class at UTEP, and oh my god, that elevator! Every single time I needed to take that elevator was broken down.
Yeah.
Then for me, for other people, like whatever, I'm like I'm tired, but I'm gonna take the stairs. It is what it is. To me, taking the stairs represents getting already exhausted.
Yeah.
having to waste a lot of my energy just taking the stairs.
Right.
Not only that, it means falling down the stairs. It means representing a risk of me tripping and falling and injuring myself,
Right.
which
Right.
not injured, but I have fallen down the stairs in stairs from UTAB because the elevator doesn't work,
Right. Right.
and it's disheartening. Like I used to text my professor when I was taking this class, and I say, "It should not be this hard for me to get to my class."
Right. Right.
It's so frustrating to be faced and be put so many obstacles to make it just to my class. Um, so even though this happened 2021, it's probably already going to be 4 years of this. I'm still adapting to my new reality. I'm still learning how to work with my body. I'm still healing health wise, but emotionally wise as well.
Yes.
Like it took,
Yes.
not proud of it, but it took years for me to go to a counselor and go to a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of it because I know this. When I start, when this started happening to me in 2021, my professors will tell me all the time. I had two people. Everybody was concerned about what therapy was I taking, what medication was I taking, what procedure was I taking. And one of the things that let me my story has given me is that everybody is very concerned of what thing are we doing medically wise.
Right.
Nobody but two people in my life care about the mental health repercussions
Right.
from this situation happening to me. Not my doctor, none of my doctors care, and it was my best friend and my church department. They were the
Yes.
only two people that said, like, Rosa, you need to go to therapy. You need to talk to somebody. You're going through so much on your own, and you're the one that keeps carrying it. And you're piling them up. Like all of the stuff that is happening, there's a lot of medical trauma that I went through it. Everything you're piling it up. And you need to talk to somebody. Like you need to go to therapy. And I'll be like, no, I'm okay. I'm fine. I think I'll be better. Like, oh, I've got this. I know how to do this because I mean that's what I go for. Like that's my training on. And it didn't took until probably was until I was hitting rock bottom.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
after my surgery, and I was trying to get better until I hit rock bottom. And probably months had passed by after my surgery, and I was slowly recovering movement in my legs and getting stronger. That my suicidal ideation came back, and I said, "This
Yeah.
is not it. Like we're getting improvement, but we're not there yet."
Yeah.
And the thoughts come like started to slowly come back, and like, and I say, I'm falling into a dark place, and I got out of it once. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it again.
Right.
And
Right.
I think at this point, I'm not willing to risk it anymore. I'm very lucky that I had a faculty member. I have my mentor, that he's still my mentor to this day, now in the doctoral program. But he was struggling with something I will say similar. Um, that we both like literally we were in a Zoom call and we were crying. And I remember he turned around and he was like, "Let's hold each other accountable for our mental health. Like I'll ask you if you have gone to therapy,
Yeah.
and you can ask me if I've gone to my own therapy, because you're going through a lot of stuff. I'm going through a lot of stuff." I'm like, "Let's call and let's make appointments to go and see a therapist." And that's where my journey led me. But for this, I'm telling you, it's 2022.
Yeah.
It's 2 years later from my car accident. And I love my therapist. Now I'm like, every time that she wants to leave me, I'm like, no, please don't leave me. I'm not ready to go our ways and part our ways. She's amazing. I love her so much. Um, it became something that it's a part of me. And now I tell people, like, go to my therapist and you can go see my therapist. And when we hear in the university, I'm like, you guys know that you can use the counseling centers, like, because you're already paying for it.
Yeah.
It's part
Yeah.
of your tuition. Might as well use it.
Yes.
I say, don't pay less. I'm there. I'm like, say less. I'm there. And they have amazing therapists.
They
And
do.
if for whatever reason one of them doesn't fit your needs, I'm always gonna encourage everybody, like, do not lose hope. Keep on looking,
Right, right.
because it's okay that your first therapist doesn't work. That's fine.
That's normal.
Um,
That
but
happens.
please don't get discouraged of seeking help,
Yeah, right.
because I guarantee you there's somebody out there that you're gonna feel so in touch with it that they're gonna like it's gonna fit whatever needs you have, because everybody's mental health needs are different and everybody works different.
Yes.
Some people like in one-on-one therapy and that's fine. Some people like group therapy and that's fine. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just you need to keep on fighting for what
Yes.
works for you, what
Yes.
you need.
Yes. That was powerful. Listen, that was powerful, Rosa. I mean, you literally are such a beacon of power, of vulnerability, of advocacy, of hope, of inspiration. Literally, I'm sitting here and I'm just like, I'm feeling very inspired because of you. And I mean, I'm speechless. You are so inspiring. Seriously. Like, thank you for one, still being alive. Thank you for coming on this podcast to tell this story. I'm so proud of you for still breathing. I'm so proud of you for still breathing.
Thank you.
Yes. Wow. I'm literally speechless. Seriously, thank you.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
went through hardships. We went. I mean, we're still going through them.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect.
Right.
One thing that we need to remember all the time and be patient with ourselves a lot.
Yes.
Like I am not a perfect human being. I
Right.
have good days. There's days that I love my disability and I'm
Yeah.
okay with it, and I can keep on pushing,
Yes.
and I know what I need to do. And there's days that I hate it, because
Uh
just as
huh.
much it has given me a lot, I also recognize that it has taken a lot for me.
Yeah.
It has
Mm-hmm.
taken a lot for me.
Yeah.
I just try to focus a lot more on the things that it has given me.
Mm-hmm.
I always say this, that I think if it wouldn't be for my whole situation happening throughout my master's program, maybe I would have never pursued a doctoral program,
Right. Right.
because my passion and my curiosity sparks from seeing a disparity for people with disabilities, and for like seeing people experiencing and going seeing my parents dealing with caregiver burnout, right, and the little research that it is out in the community about it,
Right. Right.
seeing the struggles that people with disabilities go through regarding mental health. Because when we are struggling with something health wise, the priority is it's health. And I
Right.
get it. I get it. Like, you need to keep you like try to be as healthy as you can and find the perfect medication and the perfect procedure and surgery and therapy. And I get it. I understand it. Of
Yeah.
course I see the importance, because you need to be present and as healthy as you can to
Yeah.
keep on going. I get it. But there still have to be the importance of the mental health
Of the
aspect,
mental health. Right.
especially because there's a difference. And I will always say, I will always say, and I used to have friends who will tell me all the time, it's very different when you are born with a disability than when you go through a life changing experience, that and then
Uh
you,
huh.
I don't know if this is the right word in the right terms, but acquire a disability and you struggle with a disability. Because I went almost 25 years old being able to do, and I hate this word, the normal way, the way that everybody's
Right.
supposed to do it.
Right.
I hate the term normal at this
I
point.
hate it. Yeah.
Um, but but the way that society thinks that you're supposed to look like, supposed to do things. Um, and then I went to a life changing situation that completely give my not only my life but also my family's life take a complete different turn, and it looks completely different. So I had to grieve the person that I was and adjust to a new reality. But
Right,
also,
right.
as much as I was grieving, my family was grieving too. Because now
Yes.
the aspiration that my parents had for me had to change a little bit. Not that I'm not capable of, and not that people with disabilities are not capable of doing amazing things, because we can, we can,
Right. Yes.
we can absolutely do it. Um, but it is gonna look different. I had to face a new way of graduation looking, and my master's graduation looked very different than my undergrad. And I had to work with my therapist through the anxiety of my graduation and not fitting the expectations that I had put myself on
Right,
and that my
right.
parents had put myself on. But at the same time, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be at my graduation because for me, was the way of telling my parents, yes, mom and dad, we went through hell and your daughter is still here. She
Yes.
made it. We made
Yes.
it. We're
Yes.
still here. We keep it pushing. We're thriving the best that we can. We went through hell together, and your daughter did it. She made it. In
Yes.
spite of everything against her, she's
Yes.
walking down the stage.
Yes.
So it's hard. It's really tough. I still, again, I'm still adjusting to my new reality.
Yeah.
I have good days and bad days, and it's okay. I constantly have to keep on reminding that first, I need to advocate for myself. Nobody's gonna fight for myself as much as I have to fight for myself. I have people that are gonna fight for me for sure, but I also have to try it. I need to be patient with me.
Yes.
I have to be mindful and I have to be patient with me. And I am entitled to have a bad day. And I am entitled to
Yes.
have a crappy day. And it's
Yes.
okay. It doesn't make
Yes.
me a bad person. That just makes me a human
A
being.
human being.
And that's all that I can aspire to be a human being. I'm a human being that has emotions, that has flaws, that that has gone through hell, but it's willing to get back up and get out of it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
one thing that it's hard, and we see it more, I think, in every culture, but at least in mine, because I was raised very independent, and because I was taught that asking people for help, it was a sign of weakness.
Right,
When I
right.
was struggling now with my disability, it was a battle, like an internal battle, on
Yeah.
the sense of I need to ask people for help, because if something falls to the ground and I cannot pick that up, I'm like, do I just leave it there? Like, and I'm just
Right,
giving as an
right.
example, right? But I had to rewire and retrain my brain in a way to say,
Yes.
like, it's okay for you to ask for help.
Yes.
You're not
Yeah.
being seen as a weak person.
Right.
There's people who are willing to help you
Right.
in every single aspect. And you don't, and I used to tell this to everybody all the time, and now I found myself having to tell it to myself, or my close immediate friends tell it to me. You don't have to be Wonder Woman
Right.
all the time. You don't have to.
Mm.
Nobody's expecting you to find a solution to everything, to find for you to be able to do everything. It's okay. So now it's hard, but now when people offer me help, I've had to learn to say, like, you know what? Yes, I can do this on my own. I
Right.
can carry this heavy box to my office. I cannot carry this heavy box in, like, on top of my closet, because I know my legs will not. hold it. I know
Oh,
my
yeah.
back is gonna give out. I'm gonna know I'm gonna put myself in danger. And at the end of the day, it's not worth it.
Right.
It's not worth it. I much rather say like, you know what, I can't do this. Help me than me injuring myself. And it's gonna
Right.
be a lengthier injury. It's gonna be a more
Right.
draining injury.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Right.
So
And
it's
you know,
okay. I always say it's
yeah.
okay to ask for help.
Yes. I love. Okay. I know we're running out of time, but I just had to say, Rosa, you are literally a definition of a true leader. A true leader is able to say, I fall down, I get back up. I fell down. I wanted to quit. I almost quit. However, thanks to someone else, they helped me. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not do it on your own. That's what a true leader is. I don't ever get inspired by leaders, quote unquote leaders, and no judgment on them, but I just never got inspired by folks who uh, are perfect or quote unquote perfect, who don't show us the dark sides, the sides that aren't so, societally acceptable. I just never have gotten inspired by people like that. I've gotten inspired by leaders who are not afraid to be human, leaders who are able to say, guess what? One day it was like this, or one day I thought like this, but I had to unlearn. I had to unlearn and learn something new. I had to change or things changed. And this is the thing. Someone right now, as we are speaking, needed to hear your story, needed to hear your advice. You are being heard in 43 countries around the world, and that number is only going to increase. So I know we're about to end this recording right now at 4:09 p.m., but you're going to be healing someone tomorrow. You're going to be healing someone next year. 10 years from now, your story, your pain did not go in vain. And thank you for coming on. What a leader you are. What a leader you are. Literally, I'm so proud of you. You can't see it now, but I'm tearing up. But I'm so proud of you. And we about to get this PhD degree.
Mm,
Yes. That's right. So it's just
no,
like,
thank you.
go
Thank
ahead.
you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me
Yes.
because I I know where that's what we're hoping so. That's what we're hoping so.
Yes.
Because yeah,
Yes. Thank
it's
you,
it's
Rosa. Yes.
if the only thing that I can probably left out to say is that
Mm-hmm.
when I was going through this, I never felt more alone.
Right.
So I made my almost like my mission that every single thing that I can, I like to share my story because I
Yes.
want I wanted somebody back then to tell me, girl, you're not alone. You're going through it. I went through it.
Yes.
Like I feel you. Like you're not alone. And when I have somebody very close to me to went through something similar, I remember my therapist told me this. I will hug this person. I will give him all this comfort that I didn't have. And
Yes.
my therapist said, like, you weren't hugging him. You weren't hugging yourself a few years ago. This is the hug that you
Yes.
needed. So now you
Yes.
made it your mission to help more people, and it's great. So if I can say something to whoever is listening to me, is like you're not alone. There's a lot
Yes.
of people that are going and struggling just as much as you are,
Yes.
and don't feel like that you are because
Yes.
whoever is listening to it and whoever needs it, even though I don't know you and you don't know me, but I will always say you a big hug because it's our struggle, it's true, it's validated. Your pain, your emotions are valid, and it's okay to be happy, to be angry, to be sad because we're just human beings.
Yes. Wow. Very beautifully said. Y'all can't see us right now, but we're both crying. That was so beautiful. I needed to hear that. There was something that you said that I really needed to hear. I needed to hear. And so, thank you, Rosa. Um, Rosa, um, when I start recording for the next season, which will probably definitely be by the end of this year, you are always welcome back. I will be reaching out to you and be like, Rosa, would you like to come back? You know, I can share with you a new list, a new topics list. There's like two other lists that I didn't, or no, there's one more list that I didn't send. And so, yes, I would love to have you back. We would love to have you back. Um, and I can't wait. I'm so thank you so much. Stay on a couple minutes after I end the recording, okay? I want to talk to you about something. Alrighty. Bye everyone.
Definitely. And
Welcome to season 6 of Vulnerability Time.